Hi everyone, I know there's been a lot in the news lately, but I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened last week. There was a Senate hearing with the Undersecretary for Arms Control, her name is Andrea Thompson, from the Trump administration, about something called New START. And she was pretty cavalier, pretty flippant about it, but I think it's really serious and important stuff, and I wanted to talk about it with you today. So, just to give a little bit of an overview, and this will skip over a bunch of stuff because there's a lot here to cover, but let me just give a little bit of an overview. In 1991, as a product of the work of both the Reagan administration and the George H.W. Bush administration, we had an arms control treaty between the US and Russia that started called START, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. And this was a treaty that was meant to put a ceiling on the number of nuclear weapons, a certain category of nuclear weapons that both countries would have. That treaty expired in 2009, and there was a successor created called New START that was negotiated between the two countries. And New START is in place now, and it runs until 2021. And part of the text of New START says that it can be extended for 5 years upon mutual agreement of both parties, so both the Russians and the United States. So what does New START do? New START puts a ceiling on certain categories of nuclear weapons at 1,550 warheads. It also limits particular types underneath that 1,550, so ICBMs, SLBMs, and heavy bombers, and it has certain limits on deployment mechanisms as well. There's a lot of technical stuff in there, but the point is that what it does is it keeps us from entering a new arms race with the Russians, which would be deleterious to both of our interests. It would probably bankrupt the Russians, and it would cost us hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that we could be spending on other priorities like healthcare, education, infrastructure, investments that we need to make here at home. So that's why New START is really important to us. Not only does it keep us safer by limiting the number of nuclear weapons and reducing the risk of proliferation, it also is something that keeps us from spending money that we don't need to spend on a category of weapons that we hope will never be used. So what should we be doing? We should be doing two things. One is we should be working like heck to make sure that we can negotiate a 5-year extension to New START, and that negotiation should lead to an agreement, a mutual agreement on terms that are good for the United States and satisfactory to the Russians, so that the limits that are under New START stay in place for another 5 years. We should also be negotiating with the Russians to bring them back into compliance with another treaty called the INF Treaty. We should be working hard to make sure that the Russians come back into compliance with the INF as we work hard to negotiate an extension for New START. There's no guarantee, there never is a guarantee that diplomacy will work and deliver results, but to not try would be reckless. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is that late last year, in November of last year, Cory Gardner joined with about 24 all Republican, mostly right-wing senators to write a letter to the Trump administration that on the face of it didn't seem to be particularly crazy, but was widely seen as laying the groundwork for an argument not to renew New START. That would make us less safe. It would cost a ton of money. It's terribly irresponsible. Cory Gardner's on the wrong side of the issue here, and he's on the wrong side of an incredibly dangerous issue. We should be negotiating hard to extend New START to make the world safer and to make sure that we have the money that we need to invest in priorities here at home that will make the American economy stronger and deliver for the middle class.